kindergarten friends, this is Miss Gardner and welcome to Writer's Workshop. Let's go ahead and look at our learning objective for today, which is I can use words and pictures to write about a topic. And yesterday you were with Mrs. Lusher and you learned all about polar bears. So today we're going to be using our words and our pictures to write about polar bears. First, let's go ahead and look at our chart from yesterday, which says polar bears can, have, and are, that we learned from the polar bear book. We learned that polar bears can hunt, polar bears can swim, polar bears can eat, and polar bears can play. And there's some other things that if you want to add along with that, you can do that in your book. Next, we have our polar bears have. We learned that polar bears have fur. Polar bears have big paws, as big as a dinner plate. And polar bears have good eyesight, and polar bears have thick blubber. That's the skin that is underneath their fur. And then going on to polar bears are, we learned that polar bears are fast. We know that polar bears are bears, that they are black and white, and that they are afraid of walruses. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with our book. You should have already had your front cover of your book done because that was what you were supposed to do yesterday. And the title of our book is all about polar bears. And it has a picture of a polar bear and it has Mrs. Lusher's name at the bottom of it. Okay, so today our focus is going to be focusing on what polar bears can do. Now, when we're writing today, I want to emphasize to you, friends, that you can write more than one sentence on a page. I know we practice just writing one sentence and then going to the next page. So I'm going to encourage you to write more than one sentence. And you can use this chart here to at least write 4 sentences for polar bears can. Okay, but I'm just going to write 2 on my page today. But that's something that I want to encourage you to do, to write more than one sentence on a page. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our first page here. And I'm going to look back over here at our chart here. And like I said, we're going to only focus on polar bears can today. So I think I'm going to do polar bears can eat and polar bears can hunt. So polar bears can hunt for food. And do you remember what polar bears like to eat? Polar bears like to eat seals. So I'm going to write polar bears can eat seals and polar bears can hunt for food. So let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to start with my words up here. And since I know that I'm going to write multiple sentences on this one page, I'm going to start fairly up here at the top. So then I'm going to leave the space below for my words. I guess you could do it either way, but I guess I'll write my words up here for today. So here we go. My first sentence that I'm going to write today is polar bears can eat seals. Okay? I'm going to say that a couple times so I know what I'm going to write. Polar bears can eat seals. Can you say that with me? Polar bears can eat seals. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and start up here. Now remember, we're always thinking about our pencil rubric and the rules that we need to have when we're writing a sentence here. Okay, so I'm going to start my sentence with a capital letter. Here, polar bears with a capital P. And I can always look back at the chart so I can know how to spell polar bears. Here we go. Polar bears. And I make sure I put a space between my words. Polar bears can, I think I'm going to do polar bears can hunt for food first. Okay, so I have polar bears can, polar bears can hunt. I'm going to stress that word out. Hunt. Okay, now I see polar bears can hunt. Do you remember what I had next? For, that's a sight word. Polar bears can hunt for food. And notice as I am writing each word, I'm going back and I'm rereading because that is what a good writer does. And I noticed that I'm kind of caught myself from reading too quickly, okay? Because I could have left a word out. So when you're reading, you want to make sure that you go back and reread and you're putting your fingers under the word so that you understand maybe if you made a mistake. So I have polar bears can hunt for food. Okay, and I'm going to put a punctuation mark there at the end. Now, this is where I'm going to encourage you to write more than one sentence, friends. We know that polar bears can do a lot more than hunt for food. So I'm going to also write that polar bears can eat seals here. Okay, so I've got my first sentence here, and I know that I'm going to begin my next sentence down below. And I'm going to start it with another capital letter. Polar bears can eat. I'm going to come down here to write the word eat. Eat. I hear it. E. A T. Polar bears can eat seals. Eels. Just like that. Okay. So I'm going to go back and reread and make sure I didn't leave anything out. Polar bears can eat seals. And I'm going to go ahead and put my punctuation mark there. Now, I realized I made a mistake and I left something off. I have polar bear. I'm going to write polar bears. So I need an S at the end of the word bears. Okay? So I'm going to go back up to the top and read what I have, and then I'm going to draw my picture below. Okay? But notice that I wrote more than one sentence. So I have polar bears can hunt for food, period. I know this period tells me that my sentence ended. Now I'm going to my next sentence. So starting another capital letter, polar bears can eat seals. Okay? Now, if I wanted to, I could write another sentence, but I'm actually going to go ahead and draw my picture below. Because when we're thinking about our pencil rubric, we need to make sure that our picture matches our words. So I have my words here, so I'm going to need something about polar bears here. Okay? So we know that polar bears can eat seals, so I'm going to go ahead and seals, when we saw in the story, the seal was in the water. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my little seal here, and he's kind of popping up out of the water like that. There's his mouth. There's his eyes. Right there. There's my little seal there. And then I'm going to draw a polar bear, and he's kind of sneaking up on the seal because he's got to be really quiet here. So I'm going to draw my polar bear here. There he is. There's his body. There's his ears and his eyes, his nose, just like that. He's watching. Let's see if I make the kind of like that. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and finish my picture later, friends, okay? So, on your first page of your book, you're thinking about what can polar bears do? And let me review quickly. Polar bears can hunt, polar bears can swim, polar bears can eat, and polar bears can play.
Have fun.
Sorry about that, friends. That was an interruption, but we're going to keep going. So, like I was saying before, we're talking just about what polar bears can do. So, we know that polar bears can hunt for food, polar bears can swim in the water, polar bears can eat seals, and polar bears can play with their cubs or with their friends, okay? So you have lots of things that you can write about today of what polar bears can do. But remember, I want you to write more than just one sentence, just like I did today on my page, friends, okay? So when you get done with your page today, I would love to see you on Seesaw. That is all that we have for Writer's Workshop. See you next time.